Welcome to Smart in the City, the Bible podcast where we bring together top actors in the smart city arena, sparking dialogues and interactions around the stakeholders and themes most prevalent for today's citizens and tomorrow's generations. I am your host, Tamlin Shimizu, and I hope you will enjoy this episode and gain knowledge and connections to accelerate the change for a better urban life. Smart in the City is brought to you by Babel Smart Cities. We enable processes from research and strategy development to co-creation and implementation. To learn more about us, please visit the Babel platform at babel-smartcities.eu. So I am here with you today from Urban Future Conference in Łódź, Poland. It's one of my favorite events every year, and we are partnering with the organizers once again to interview top experts in the field from their event. So thank you so much to Urban Future, first and foremost, for having me here again this year, facilitating many sessions and meeting amazing people, just like my guest sitting across from me today. His name is Marco Buemi, as he is the senior expert and project manager at Verona Municipality in Italy. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm really excited to dig into your work and your perspectives on all of these interesting topics. But before we get started on that, I like to warm up a bit. And so the little teaser question I have for you today is, if Verona were an animal, which animal would it be and why?
Okay, these nice questions that can characterize a lot of the city of Verona. I will answer the Mastiff, that is a dog. It's a large and faithful dog. This dog is big and strong with an imposing physical presence usually, and is also a calm and loyal character. And why I say the Mastiff? Because has been one of the symbols of Verona since the 13th century, when the government of the city was alternated between the lords of La Scala. La Scala was a old family that created Verona. Can Grande della Scala was the creator of the city of Verona, and the symbol was exactly the Mastiff. So this symbol you can also find in the logo of Hellas Verona, the football club, as two Mastiff, one opposite the other one, and in the middle there is the La Scala, that is the stars. No? So the stars with the two Mastiffs that symbolize also the character of the Verona city.
Cool. I love dogs. I'm a huge dog fan. I grew up with so many dogs. I have a dog now. Do you have a Mastiff?
No, actually I don't. Okay. It's a big one, and I live in an apartment, so
it's a quite big one.
It's quite big one, yeah, exactly. Even if it's calm, it's loyal, can be also aggressive. Yeah. If they touch the owner and or touch the kids, it can be aggressive.
Yeah, sounds good. I want to learn a little bit more about you as a person too. So can you tell me a bit more about what is your background? Where did you come from? How did you end up in this role and in this topic today?
Yeah, my background, I studied between Bologna University, that is the oldest university in the world, and Stockholm University. I was starting as an exchange student, and then I stayed over 1 year more. So totally, I stayed 2 years there in the Stockholm University. And then I wrote my final thesis on welfare policies. Sweden as a model, as many knows, Sweden has been a model since years as a welfare state model. And after this, I started to work with the ombudsman against discrimination and in the human rights field in the Swedish government. So under the Ministry for Equal Opportunities. And I worked there for 2 years. Then a ministry from Italy asked me if I wanted to come back to the country to start up the office. This office has been implementing during the EU directive. And also Italy was implementing the office, and I was, experiencing, probably the only Italian that was experienced this path. And so I came back to Italy and supposing to stay 1 year there. And and then I stayed, even now I'm still there. And I start up with the office there. And then I started to realize that um, uh, my field was not only to work in the human rights, but also in sustainable development for the cities. That's why I stepped into, the urban development and sustainable urban development. And I tried to connect the human rights of social inclusion, social innovation with the regeneration of cities. Okay. So also the project that I will talk about is about this, try to have this links between the two cross-cutting themes.
Yeah, I can imagine your background in equity really lends its hand in these types of projects. I want to go straight into the project. It's called REGEN, right?
Yes.
And it's around reimagining public spaces through international collaboration. Can you share the core vision behind REGEN and some tangible outcomes from the implementation so far?
Yeah, I start from the name REGEN. Talk about regeneration, no? But talk about also generations, young generations, because we wanted to have a participative project from bottom up. So with the involvement of the youngsters from 10 to 18 years old. And the project, it aims to support sustainable urban development and social inclusion, thanks to also to the protagonism of the secondary schools students from disadvantaged backgrounds. And that comes, the social inclusion part as well. What we wanted to involve them was to involve them in the transformation of abandoned public areas. Can be a park, but can be also an overpass, or can be streets, or can be square, into urban sports hub. Why we choose a sports hub? Because in the city, usually I travel a lot for my work, and I usually notice that in the city there is not enough space for youngsters to practice sports. Not the classics one, like football, volleyball, basketball that you usually pay for participate in a club, but in the streets. So the street sports. But I wanted also to highlight street sports because in 2024, 5 street sports were added in the Olympic Games. And that I realized that in the next Olympic Games, that Verona together with Milan, so Milano, Cortina, and Verona will organize in February 2026. I wanted to highlight the importance of street sports and the importance to public spaces for youngsters. Also to take them off from gangs, particularly problems inside the neighborhoods that usually involve youngsters when they are bored, they don't know what to do, and they are not engaged in something. And sport is always a social inclusion, a social inclusion, a path to get in the social inclusion perspective, and to better also the area and the neighborhood.
And health, right? The health outcomes are also really important to notice.
The health is really connected to this project as well, because we want to work with tactical urbanism and inclusion of green and gender with criteria in architectures. Health is also a part of this because youngsters usually are not aware about how sports and health are really connected with each other. And with internet, with telephones, this part usually is really not developed. So the importance of sport is totally connected with the importance of healthy food, but also healthy lifestyle. Because if you move your body, also you can burn calories, but you can also be involved in an approach, sustainable approach of the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get more into kind of the people aspect and the participatory, but first, just to understand, where are you at in the project? Have you already seen some outcomes from the project implementations, just to show kind of the timeline on what we're talking about?
Yes, we are almost at the end of the project. Actually, we have 6 months to spend more to finish the project. So we have been developing very interesting parts of the project. We have good outputs and deliverables already through the project. And the project talk about tactical urbanism, as I mentioned, is a core of the project, because tactical urbanism is a low-cost, short-term approach to neighborhood building and activation, using a quick, scalable intervention to create long-term changes in public spaces. And usually, youngsters don't approach this methodology, because to approach this methodology, you have to be accompanied by architects or urban planners. So in our project, we have several of urban planners and architects, but also social inclusion activists that can help, the approach of the tactical urbanism. I came back. I mean, I just finished, like it was last Sunday, the second sport festival in a park. Was really successful. A lot of kids and a lot of youngsters were participating with trying several street sports like street basket, parkour, and skateboarding. On last Sunday, actually, we regenerated an abandoned area in a critical neighborhood. Is situated in the southern part of the city. It's called Borgoroma, and the area. And we painted all the parking in a perspective to regenerate the area, to keep the area lively, and the colors and the painting that we had there, with the help of the kids, make this approach, also for the citizens that were just showing us a painting. They just came down from the apartments and helped us, to paint also their own area. And this is approach that I like very much, because you work for your own area, and usually if you don't push this concept among the citizens, they don't do much.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is a very participative approach, the tactical urbanism. You build the area through low cost and quick interventions.
Yeah, absolutely. And with involving young people in this planning, what methods have you found have been most effective with involving them? Can you expand upon what you were already starting to talk about? How do you really get them involved?
Yeah, this is very interesting, because the process has not been easy, because you must first enthusiasm them to the approach, explain them about urban generation, regeneration issues, try to make them, part of the project immediately. It took us probably 6 months to get in the school. First of all, we asked the sport association, to come with us, and they brought the skateboarding, they brought the parkour, cubes, they brought the balls for the street basketball, and then we tried to involve the youngsters through participating and trying these new sports. Okay. Yeah. For many of them, it was the first time, to use, the skateboard, for example, or to jump in a parkour, cube or whatever. And this was a practical approach to enthusiasm them and to have their immediately feedback what they would like to do in the area that we choose as a regeneration area. The second approach, and that I think was the really important approach, was to get in the school, in the secondary school, with youngsters from 17 to 18 years old that are more mature about this approach. We work with them 4 classes, 2 hours every week, to explain all the different phases of the project, to give them ideas together with architects and social inclusion experts, because there is a social part also included in the project. And then we organize a final hackathon that was really successful, with where they put their ideas in a pitch, and they present the pitch during the hackathon. The pitch could be a pitch that we will use to regenerate the area. So through the pitch, you can see, a lot of ideas from them. And that is the best part.
And you saw a lot of excitement with the youth, like a lot of, like they really wanted to engage, or
yes.
How was your impression of that?
Yes, my impression was really, I was amazed about how youngsters can be part of the process. But they don't want just to give you an idea. They want that this idea will be implemented. And they ask for this pushing from the municipality to implement their ideas. So it's not just, it's an exercise. It's not just an exercise. It's really a pitch that they want to realize in lively,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's really encouraging to hear. I think it's clear that we start from a people approach and a participatory approach. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the space, the place itself, on transforming these abandoned areas. So we're sitting in Poland, and there's a lot of we're sitting in a beautiful area that's been totally revitalized, also from an old textile manufacturing hub. But there are still many abandoned buildings across European cities, right? So how do we strategize? How do we build effective strategies to transform these areas?
Yeah. But the area where we are, also in Verona, but I think there are similitude with areas here that I saw in Łódź, are degraded, are abandoned, and there is no participation of citizens. Mm-hmm. So I think everything starts from the citizens, because the citizens, they know exactly much about the area. Mm-hmm. They know the history of the area, what can be regenerated, but also what you can keep as it was, because you have to consider that there is an historical, path also in this. You cannot, regenerate without to think about the historical, the story of the area. And you have to take into consideration from day one. You cannot, pretend an idea or the involvement, after, 1 year or 6 months from the project. Yeah. Because they will feel a part, and they will feel not involved in the project, but they will feel only that they will jump just to give you an idea, and then they won't be considered anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think the strategy is the involvement of the citizens through a participatory process. And there are a lot of strategies around this. For me, the hackathon worked really much, because in the hackathon you can really have for a long time the people to express themselves and to be able and have the time to put something concrete on paper or in a pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the money aspect now. With the REGEN project, that was European financing, right?
Yeah.
But of course, there's many other different ways that we need to utilize different mechanisms to revitalize these places, to push forward on these community projects. So how do you think that cities can attract and manage better public-private investments or other different mechanisms to be able to push forward on these projects?
Yes, Verona, I think is a concrete example how we approach this because, of course, the money are not enough to have a concrete results. Usually, one of the area decided for the urban intervention. We have a couple of urban intervention in Verona. Is an overpass close to the International Verona Fair. So it's a very famous overpass where it was a degraded area. For many years, where also homeless were sleeping. But then started to be a very crucial area because there is the entrance of general warehouses. And there have been a lot of interventions in that specific area. And one company specifically that work is an electronical company investing in fast electric recharging for cars. They were interested to open a recharging area exactly in that point. So they contacted the municipality, and the municipality gave me the contact. I mean, the deputy mayor. So I work in collaboration with them. Gave me immediately their contacts to see which kind of partnership public-private could born from this, and was successful actually. We are in the phase now that we are deciding to build a street sport area under the overpass, and they will donate money because they wanted to regenerate and they are interested to regenerate the area. Because they cannot accept as it is now because it's degraded. So we are thinking to have, like murales there, graffiti. We are thinking to put a lighting system that can overlook and can be the secure area. We can talk about also ramps for skateboarding. Probably a street basket as well can be done in that area. So from now, starting this collaboration, public collaboration for the regeneration of the area. So I think for this kind of projects, it usually has no much money for intervention everywhere with the structures as well. The private can be really a boost for the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So with regeneration, sometimes that also goes hand in hand a little bit with gentrification, perhaps with, when you transform areas and you make them more beautiful, they're more attractive for wealthier families to come in. It also makes it perhaps a place for tourists, and maybe those local communities that were originally in the neighborhoods are pushed out. This is a challenge that we have, right, with regenerating areas.
Yes.
How do you see this, and how do you ensure that when you're doing these regeneration projects that you have the local community in mind?
I think when you put as a particular in a particular position, an important position, the local community, this gentrification process cannot be done and cannot exist because the local community make things much better than private investors that maybe they regenerate the areas with a perspective of make money, make profits. But the local community, the aim of the local community is not to make money, but to regenerate it in a good way for themselves. So when there is this discussion with the local community, usually the gentrification process doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, good point. So starting from that aspect. So I know with this project also almost being finished, you also aim to transfer this knowledge to other cities. What mechanisms are in place to really ensure that you're getting those best practices out there? And how are you kind of transferring this knowledge?
Yeah, I think it was
through podcasts, right?
Really interesting. And first of all, I made a contact. We made a contact. The city of Verona organized a study visit to Paris. We have this collaboration with the Grand Métropole de Paris through European Urban Initiative Program. There is a city-to-city call for proposal. You can apply and you can transfer or be transferred by another city. So we thought that the experience of how the Grand Métropole de Paris organized the Olympic Games in degraded area and in the neighbors, in what is called banlieue in French, was really interesting for us. So we've been 3 full days just to study their processes, their involvement with the citizens, to try to get more ideas and to organize also our events during the Sport Olympic Games better. And then I made a collaboration also with Extreme Days Festival. That is a festival of urban street sports where an entire city that is called Sacile will close all the city to organize a very big urban street festival with champions that will come there, Olympic champions, but also with local people that want to try several urban street sports, from slackline to climbing, to skateboard, BMX, and whatever that is considered a street sport. And the interesting part and the interesting collaboration is to work also there with youngsters. So I asked them to organize a workshop with youngsters together with an artist to make a mural and the day during the streets festival that will be not this weekend but next one. So we had this workshop during May, and then we realized that the painting during the festival. So I will be there and with them and to address also the issues. It will be really fun.
Yeah, cool. And in more general terms, I also like to ask, for Verona, what tools do you feel like are really missing in the city to accelerate the changes that you're trying to push forward? So it could be funding, for example, but I don't know if you have other ideas. What do you feel like you really need?
Funding for sure is the biggest problem. And that's why we are trying to apply for more funding, because gave us the perspective and the challenging to have something concrete to do. But also the transnational part is very important. And with this measure, we are working a lot with the transnationality and to make, these international, aspects and collaboration with other cities all around Europe. Also, we should have a procedure, accelerating the procedure for the investments. To be able to spend the money quickly, because usually it's not just about funding, but it's also about how you spend the money and how quick you are to spend the money to take actions. Okay, because sometimes you are really slow and you lose the possibility to spend the money. So I would like really to quicker the process, the bureaucratic process to spend the money. And everything can be done in a quicker way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so often we see cities will say there's not enough funding, but they're not actually able to capitalize on the funding that they do have fast enough, right? So it's this parallel problem. Yeah,
exactly.
Now, we talked about a lot of things, and I really, really love your insights into this project. I'd like to ask you if there's anything that we missed. This is the open floor that we can give you. It's if you think that there's a really important topic that we didn't yet get the chance to talk about. Do you have anything?
Well, we talk about a lot of things. I think all the projects that have these cross-cutting aspects are really crucial, important nowadays. If you can put in every project the greener part, the social inclusion, social innovation part, and the gender part that I think is very important in every project you do. Together also with the process of digitalization, because it's an important process, I think you will realize a really concrete and profitable project and successful for sure project. So keep in mind also these 3-4 aspects and try to put together when you apply for a project or when you work in a concrete project.
Yeah, good advice. With that, we get to go into our fun segment. Top or flop? Respond quickly with your positive or negative review on a variety of topics. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Pop-up urban gardens in city centers. Top. Okay. Electric scooters for last mile mobility.
Can be top.
Yeah. Okay. Urban art installations as tools for regeneration.
Very top.
Car-free city zones.
Super top.
Vertical farming in abandoned buildings.
Oh, really top, yeah.
Dynamic road pricing for traffic reduction.
Top.
AI-powered surveillance for public safety.
It can be a flop.
Privatized public space.
Flop.
Smart benches.
Top.
Copy-paste urbanism.
Flop.
Okay, good. Do you want to explain any of your answers?
No, I think...
it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think it's self-explanatory, but I want to highlight something that I usually talk about a lot. When I go around, I usually see people that are complaining for why the majors or the cities decide to close and to make pedestrian certain areas. Mm-hmm. Always complain about we don't have any more place to park the cars. We cannot anymore go directly to that shop. And I always, fight for this and saying, this is the only way to have livable cities, greener cities, and net zero cities.
Yeah.
And yes, I want just to highlight this really fundamental for me concept of the city.
I completely agree. I think we have a communication problem with it. I actually hate this phrasing that I put in here, which is car free. Because car free naturally gets people a little bit riled up, I feel like, when you say that. I really like to put the business case on, this, pedestrian or like walking friendly places is really good for local business and to bring it back to the economy, because then that speaks the language for everyone, as well. So just to also throw that out there.
Exactly. Research say exactly so that if you have a pedestrian cities, pedestrian areas, then, the commercial, it will increase. And the air will be less polluted. There is a reduction of, CO2 emissions. And the people will feel better, because it's a livable
it's a more
city.
vibrant place.
And you can organize, festival, you can organize, events. And people can be more engaged, than, park on the sidewalk or in the second lines, that make people crazy and make people fighting a lot for a park.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely in agreement. Now it's the final question. It's a question we ask every single guest that comes onto the podcast. And it is, to you, what is a smart city?
A smart city is a place where people feel considered, that their needs feel considered. It's not about a process of digitalization that usually, people think about a smart city in a digital approach, but it's a city that consider every diversity. So disabled people with a gender perspective, that work for social inclusion in a neighborhood where there is a criticism of migrants that live there, for example. It is a place where really all the needs are taken into account. And in this way, it can be smart for who is planning the city, but also smart for who is living the city.
Yeah. I really like that first sentence that you said. It's where everybody feels considered. And I'd like to end it on that. So thank you very much for coming on. It was really interesting to learn all about it. And I'm sure our listeners will also be very intrigued to learn more. So also thank you to all of our listeners too for coming on. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very, very much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Welcome back too. And of course, to all of our listeners, thank you. And don't forget, you can always create a free account on babel-smartcities.eu. You can find out a lot more about different projects, initiatives, solutions, implementations, and more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Babel.
Thank you all for listening. I'll see you at the next stop on the journey to a better urban life.